Hey guys, my name's Sam and welcome to PrepMedic. Even though I am a huge proponent for EMS as a career and not just a stepping stone, the fact remains that a lot of people do use EMS as a stepping stone into PA, MD, nursing, and most commonly, firefighting. So in this week's video, I have Mike from FireFighterNOW, who's going to give you tips and tricks in leveraging your experience as an EMS provider to get hired on a fire department. Before we get into the meat and potatoes with Mike, this video is sponsored by Live the Creed. Now, Live the Creed is well known in the industry for creating innovative medical kits to help you and your family get home alive. As a flight paramedic and medical YouTuber, I get my hands on a lot of medical equipment, and I will tell you everything these guys put out is high quality. So whether you're looking for a Christmas present or something to help your own preparedness, I will leave a link down below. Now, let's get back to the video.
What's up guys, my name is Mike from FireFighterNOW, and in today's video what I want to talk to you about is how to transition from EMS into fire and how to use your EMS experience to your advantage to get hired at a fire department. The first and most important thing I want you to know is that you do not need to have fire experience to get hired at a fire department. Now I'm assuming that many of you that watch PrepMedic's channel are in EMS or interested in EMS, and you're either working as an EMT or perhaps a paramedic, and maybe at some point you have aspirations to get on a fire department, whether it be volunteer, part-time, or career. You do not have to have that fire experience to get hired at a career department. Now, it helps, it certainly does, but it's possible to still get hired without it. How do I know? Because I was one of those people. When I got hired at my first career department, I had no fire experience prior to that. And in fact, my EMS experience wasn't even in a 911 system. I was based as a hospital medic. I worked for a large trauma center in a big urban area, and I had had maybe 1 or 2 years of experience in there. Now, I learned a lot of things, but I was at a big disadvantage as compared to a lot of you who are working in 911 systems or even as transport medics, because I really didn't spend a lot of time on an ambulance outside of what was required of me during paramedic school. So I really want to drive that point home. If you have aspirations of getting into fire, you do not need to have fire experience. If you can get it, go get it. But without it, it's okay. You can still get hired. The first thing I want to talk to you about is the importance of reputation in public safety. Now, Sam came onto my channel and we talked about this pretty extensively. Public safety is such a small community. Everybody knows everybody. Every firefighter either knows every other firefighter at the other neighboring departments or knows somebody that knows someone at every neighboring department. In fact, I know firefighters for probably 2 hours south of here. That's just the way it goes. EMS is the same way. Police is the same way. This whole community is very, very small. So your reputation is going to be important. And because you are a known entity, you've been working in public safety in the EMS realm, people are going to know a little bit more about you as opposed to somebody that just showed up, took a test, and they're trying to get hired. So the first thing I want to tell you is please focus on your reputation. If you have that reputation of being that downer at work, or you have the reputation of being lazy or taking advantage of other people, start taking steps now to change that. It's not that difficult. It will take some time. The easiest way to do that is to begin volunteering for things. Some things just as simple as being the person that manages the supplies at your station. If you work for an EMS entity, there's tons of supplies out there, whether it be IVs, bandages, gauze, medications, you name it, there's tons of supplies on every truck. Be the person that manages that. Volunteer for those things, because fire departments are going to want people that have that go-getter mentality. Even if it's something small, even if it's something that you might think like, well, this is no big deal. Start volunteering for those things, because the people that are your bosses and supervisors will remember that, and those are things that fire departments are going to want. The next thing I want to talk about is changing your attitude. And I get it. I am a medic. I'm talking to a lot of people that are medics and EMTs. Working in public safety can be very, very exhausting. Dealing with the public, dealing with low pay, dealing with poor working conditions, all of those things that paramedics and EMTs and firefighters and everybody complain about. I get it. It can get old after a while. And when it gets old, you can easily get burned out. And when you're burned out, you can show up to work with a bad attitude, not enjoyable to be around, try your best to be that person that when you show up to work, everybody's excited to be on the truck with you that day. Or when you're not at work, people say, oh, I wish Steve was here. I wish Jill was here. I wish that person was working today, because they're much more enjoyable to run calls with than whoever else, whoever that burned out, miserable person is. And I get it. It can be extremely difficult and extremely taxing, but try your best to be that person, because like I said, everybody knows everybody. This is a small community, and the fire departments that you apply to in the future will find out. The next thing I want to talk about, and this is one of those things that seems fairly obvious, but nobody really talks about it that much, is you have to get in shape. And again, I get it. I understand how difficult it can be to stay in shape when you're working in EMS, when you're working 12, 16, 18, maybe even 24-hour shifts. There's EMS agencies near me that run 30 calls in 24 hours. That's not unusual for them. It's tough, especially when you're being stationed at, you have to sit in an ambulance for 3-4 hours at a time. Your dinner might just be a couple candy bars and a pop. Being in shape is really important, and it's one of those things that people don't talk about very much. And it's one of those things that you probably know somebody else that you work with in EMS that says, oh, well, I know so-and-so that works at this department, and they're really out of shape and they don't care. I promise you, especially if you're trying to apply to a larger department where they're going to be fighting a lot more fires, where it's going to be a lot more physically taxing. They might not say anything to you directly, but if you show up and you look already like you can't physically handle the job, it will reflect very poorly on you. And I know of many people that have been trying to get hired on at departments for years and can't figure out why. And the reason is you're really out of shape and you look like it. So do whatever you can to focus on that. Like I said, I understand that it's difficult and it's tough with the EMS schedule and the busyness and just the entire culture of it, but do your best to get in the best shape that you can. The next thing I want to talk about is leverage your experience. If you are already working as an EMT or a paramedic, you have a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge that many people that come off the street to get hired at fire departments don't have. Leverage that the best you can. And the best place where you can show off what you know and you can leverage that experience is the interview. Now, I'm not going to go into everything that you need to know for a fire interview. It's a little different than your standard job interview. I actually have videos, a ton of videos like that on my channel over at FireFighterNOW. But one place I really want to encourage you to leverage your experiences in the interview, in particular with a certain type of question that I call what questions. You are going to be asked questions in the interview that are trying to find out what knowledge and experience, what things do you know that you can use as a benefit for that department. And if you are an EMT or a paramedic and you are applying to a department that doesn't require you already to be an EMT or a paramedic, you can really stand out and you can really shine here. In places where I work, for example, at my department, everybody's already required to be a paramedic. It's a little bit more difficult to say I'm a paramedic, so I'm going to stand out because everybody already is. But many places in the country don't require that. So if you have that knowledge and experience, rely on that. If they're asking you questions about how you work with other people, how you handle stress, things that you do, think back to different stories and different experiences that you've had on an EMS truck, whether it be in a 911 service or a transport truck or working in an emergency room. Use that experience and leverage it the best that you can. And then finally, the last thing that I want to talk about, and I'm planning on doing an extensive video on this over on my channel, but the last thing I want to talk about is it's really important if you're getting into the fire service to choose the right department. And there's no way for you to know everything going into that. But I wanted to touch on 3 things that you should really try and find out as much as you can before you choose or decide that that's the department that you want to work for. And the first thing that I want to talk about is compensation. Now, you might say, of course you're going to pay attention to how much you're going to get paid, but there's a lot more that goes into under the umbrella of compensation than just salary. Yes, salary is important, but what kind of time off do they have? What kind of benefits do they have? What type of support do they have? If you're burned out or you're dealing with some mental health things, do they have any support or any resources for that? Do your best to find that out. And this is a fairly easy one to find out, especially if it's a large public department. All of those contracts are public. You should be able to see what type of health insurance they have or what their options are. You might not be able to access the exact schedule of benefits, but you'll at least should be able to find out a pretty decent idea. You should know what the salary is going into it. You should know what the schedule is going into it. But do your best to find out all of the avenues of the different types of compensation that you get at a department, because as you're working there, as you know, if you were already working in public safety, you can easily get burned out. The next thing I want to talk about is the culture of the department. do your best to find out what the culture of the department is. Now, cultures of departments can vary widely, even from neighboring cities. I know a lot of people that have left departments to go to other departments simply because the culture in their particular department where they were originally hired was so toxic they had to get out of there. Now, there's a lot of things that go into culture. How is the relationship between management and the line firefighters and the line officers? What's the relationship between the fire department and the mayor and city council? What's the culture like within the crews? Do the older guys just sit around and do nothing and expect the younger firefighters to wait on them? Or is it kind of more of a team atmosphere? These are going to be a little bit more difficult for you to find out. You can certainly do it. The best way for you to find this out is to start asking around. And if you're already working in public safety, just start asking around, hey, do you know anybody that works at this department? What's their experience like? Hey, what was probation like? Hey, tell me about this. It's not that hard to find out, but you will have to do some digging on your own. And then the last thing that I want to talk about when it comes to choosing a department is try and find out what opportunities there are for advancement. This is something that nobody else is talking about in the fire service, is that one thing that I hear from so many young firefighters and people looking to get into the fire service is they come out of the fire academy, they're excited, they want to learn, they want to be aggressive, they want to do things, and the department that they go to, and this ties in with culture as well, just kind of says, okay, that's good. Sit over there for the next 5 years. We'll get to you. Right now, you're a rookie. You just need to be seen. And that's so toxic for a lot of people. That really destroys people's drive. That really destroys people's motivation. What sort of opportunities are there for advancement? Whether it be in different avenues in the fire service, maybe there's a hazmat team, a tech team, a dive team, a SWAT team, something like that you can join, or what type of opportunities are there for advancement? How long do you have to wait till you can be an officer? Are there other roles that you can take on in the department that aren't necessarily official roles, but unofficial roles that you can step into and really make an impact on your department? So as always, I hope you found this useful and I hope you found this helpful. If you did, give this video a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to both PrepMedic and Firefighter Now, and hopefully I'll see you guys in another video.